Hi everybody, welcome back to my LinkedIn Lives. I'm Jasmine Navarro, certified wellbeing expert working with educational institutions and companies, helping them with their wellbeing challenges. And as you know, every week I interview different experts who make a difference. And today I'm super excited to be interviewing Tash. Hi Tash, thank you so much for coming on today.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
So I'm Tash. People don't generally call me Natasha apart from my parents when I've been bad, which, at 40, it doesn't happen so much. But I have lived in the UAE for 14 years now. And 12 years ago, I set up my own communications and marketing agency called Tash. Hopefully, some of you might have heard of Tash. We've been on quite a journey the past 12 years. So it very much started out me at my kitchen table planning to freelance and get a yoga and have a bit more life balance after a really, really busy corporate career. And then, fast forward 12 years, we're one of the leading communications agencies in the Middle East. We've won lots of awards. There's now 58 in my team in Dubai. We also have a small office in Saudi, a small office in the UK, over 100 brilliant clients. And we're a fully integrated communications agency, doing everything from traditional PR, influencers, events, social content, digital, and for brands that generally are quite female focused. So beauty, health and wellness, and mum and kid friendly brands. And all of my team are women.
Oh, wow. That sounds incredible, Tash, and super, super inspiring. And I'm really looking forward to hearing all about that. So you chose this title today, choosing to focus on women's health initiatives as true empowerment and a chance of equality. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what made you choose that today?
I think, I said, it's funny where life takes you. And, where I ended up today was never my plan. But then when I started out 12 years ago, and by nature of what I'm doing as a business, my brands are very female focused. So obviously it was women that wanted to come and work for me. And as the years went on, and then I met my now MD and partner, and she was just about to have her first child. And I think some of the realities here are that there's very little flexible working, there's very little opportunity for part-time flexible work for women that want to have family and also work. And obviously I became very aware of some of as an employer, as well as a woman myself, of some of the challenges that exist, not just here in this region, but also globally for women. And I ended up, women's health became one of my real passions, and being able to sort of advocate and champion for it. And we've got a lot of clients in that space. And the reality is, there's loads and loads of data and research that, I think we're not going to see a true equality for women in our lifetime. There are still far too many barriers to that happening, which is super, super sad. For me, it is obviously, I then decided to own the whole, female focused business, and we only have women working for us. And we took a really extreme approach and decided to show that, for example, if you create a workforce and a work environment designed with women and women's needs in mind, how women can truly flourish and have a chance of equality. And I mean, if we look at obviously sort of Tash, I said we're 12. We've been repeatedly winning awards for the work we do. We've got in terms of our profitability, in terms of our revenue, every year we've been growing sort of 50% for the last 4 years. And kind of in 12 years my business has been valued as multi $1 million company. So and all of that really came from we can't treat everybody as the same. What men want and what men need and what women need in the work environment is very different. So ultimately, when you're putting a man and woman next to each other in the same environment, of course, if it's designed for men's needs and the woman's needs aren't being met, then obviously the men are always going to be at an advantage. So, there's so much to unpick here, but I wanted to show that if we, things like, probably say a third of my team are working mums. They each have a pattern of work designed for their needs and what works for them. So some will just work the morning, some will do the school drop, go and do the school pickup, then work the afternoon. Others will just maybe work a bit in the evening. So taking the approach of not one size fits all, and how we all need to be treated as individuals, and also what women need to work around childcare and other factors. I look at some of my team, most of my team have been with me 9 years, 8 years, even 10 years. They've come in quite early in their careers and they've really, really sort of flourished. And I think, ultimately, we were one of the first companies in the region to introduce menstrual leave, menopause leave. We've got fertility leave. So, having gone through an IVF and a fertility journey, I wanted to make sure that, where if people have to go through this, that they don't have to worry about, taking time off. And I think, that if we focus on, women's health and women's needs are obviously currently some of the biggest barriers to us being able to achieve equality. So that's why, I believe that if we actually have a bit more focus on women's needs and women's health, then actually we might be able to fast track having a true shot of equality.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So it sounds like you're saying that you really caring about your team is what's helped make it so successful.
No, definitely. And I think, I would say, we're a people-focused business. I believe that, if you focus on your people, the rest of it takes care of themselves. Like a lot of businesses would say that they're client-focused, for example. And it's not to say that I'm not client-focused, but I believe that if you focus on your team and people and you care about them, then they will in turn care about your clients, and that will kind of have a ripple effect. So that's very much my rationale, with everything that we do. And, I take it really seriously about, my team. And I think we've probably all got stories, right, of like terrible bosses and things that happen in careers, and where even now today it makes us feel a bit like uncomfortable. And I always think actually, I take it really seriously that I've got a responsibility for a lot of women, particularly starting out in their careers, that the journey that I give them and the path and it has the potential to completely change the course of their lives. So, I want to make sure that they have the best, experience. I don't ever want anybody to walk into our office feeling dread or, sad at coming to work. And I think that to me was one of the main reasons why I opened my business. Well, obviously that wasn't the plan, but when I realized I was going to become a company rather than just a freelancer and me at a kitchen table, I have spent a lot of time thinking about what I wanted to, for a company and what I wanted to be as a leader and for those that work for me.
Wow, no, that's incredible. And did you have like a bad experience yourself before, not being looked after and things like that? Is that what made you do this as well?
Yeah, no, I did quite early on, actually, in my sort of, probably my mid-20s. I got what I thought was my dream job. And as I've learned in life, often the things that seem to be the dream or, what you really desire, even like dream clients, they never turn out to be the dream. So, no, I had quite a difficult experience early on in my career, which actually I ended up having to take a year off work after I quit a job to go to and took a year off. And luckily, eventually, when I did go back into my next job, where I stayed for quite a long time, I had the most amazing boss who really, I think, built my confidence back up again and, showed me that, bosses and leaders can be very different. But no, I think, I guess maybe I am more resilient than I give myself credit for. And that really, really was very difficult for me. So.
No, that sounds brilliant. And, it sounds obvious when you think about it, doesn't it? Like, look after your staff and then they'll look after the business. I mean, it sounds so obvious, but what other things do you implement then to make sure, your staff are being looked after. You mentioned being really flexible with their timetables and things like that. What else do you do, which seems to be different from a lot of companies, I'd say?
We do a 4.5 day week, but we did that before it became the trendy. So we've been doing that. So yeah, we've been doing that since I think it was like July 2021. Obviously, that was kind of after sort of COVID. Obviously, we still do hybrid, so we do 3 days in the office and 1.5 from home. Particularly on a Friday, as you know, it means schools finish super early. So for any working mum, you literally can barely get your kids dropped at school before you have to pick them up again. So so 4.5 day week. A lot of them in my industry, PR marketing agencies, is really stressful. So we're always super mindful of that. We've got a really good program of wellness. So I mean, from everything like today, we had a talk on diabetes. We had breast checks in the office. In October, things like we've been doing peace circles. We have a wellness centre come in and do that. Obviously, because a lot of the team are struggling right now with what's happening in the region. Now I think we had an end of day Reiki session online on Tuesday when we worked from home. So we're really trying to blend in the wellness. I mean, there's lots of kind of, we do believe in like celebrating life, and even when it is a very stressful industry, we do lots of social things. As I said, we have, lots of women's health policies, from the menstrual, menopause and fertility. Fertility, for example, it's not capped and there's no questions asked. The same with menstrual and menopause. It's and obviously when we were like one of the first to announce this, and we think we had like about 2,000 job applications in 2 days, and we did get a lot of media coverage, which wasn't why we did it. The honest truth was, it was heading for International Women's Day again, and to be honest, I've just caught a bit of like, everyone's jumped on the International Women's Day bandwagon now, and I feel it's lost some meaning. So I thought, I want to have some meaningful conversation around International Women's Day, and so let's focus on women's health. And then so we announced we were doing it anyway, but we formalized our policies and we announced it. So we did get a lot of media interest as well. But then I think obviously it was interesting to see the questions we got from media about this, and people generally just focused on like the period leave, and then we became like one of the Dubai problems, like memes, where it was like, we tried to phone this Dubai PR agency today, but everyone was off because all their periods things, and you kind of think, you've made it when you become like a parody kind of thing. But and we did laugh. But at the same time, it was kind of, and there were loads of like, you look at the comments on pieces as well. It was very much about, you should dock their pay and all this commentary and everything. Right? But the reality is, right, like in the last year, for example, with 58 women in Dubai office, how many days of menstrual leave do you reckon have been taken?
I have no idea.
2.
Like 2, really? Wow.
And this is the thing, because people think because you give people something like that, they're going to take advantage. But the reality is, for most people, I think they just like knowing there's the comfort that, for example, if they do have a really bad, like, crampy period or heavy period, that they know that they've got that as a safety net. But most people don't want to take it and they don't abuse it. But that's it. I think people are scared of these policies because they think they're going to be taken advantage of. But it's honestly really not the case at all. I mean, even when my team have taken it and stayed at home, they've pretty much all worked from home. But it's just knowing they have that flexibility and no questions asked to do what's best for them as a grown-up. So
no, I think that's absolutely right. And I think when you respect your staff, they will respect you as well. And there's that quote, isn't there? What is it? If you show somebody that they're appreciated, they will do more or something. I can't remember what the quote is. And I think that's exactly it. Like, it works both ways, doesn't it? So, but I think you're right. A lot of employers are probably scared. Yeah. They think everybody's going to take advantage. And then you have that culture, and then it just becomes a toxic environment. And people do, because they're not getting any support, they just phone in sick all the time anyway. So the opposite, actually. Yeah.
Exactly. Wow. So yeah, but no, we're doing lots of things, and we're always like trying to do more and learn more and see, we did think about, there's the policies around like unlimited leave or something, which people have been trialing in America, but we're not really convinced on that one. Apparently people
No,
don't take it either, but I don't know. I need a bit more convincing on that one.
Oh, wow, I haven't heard about that one. But you mentioned, because like now you have this huge successful company, 58 employees. So you said it wasn't your plan. So can you tell us how it happened? Like, how did this happen from your kitchen
It
table?
really was. I'd always had really busy kind of corporate jobs. And I came over here, wanted to tick living and working in a foreign country. I got, a job here working for the government in marketing and comms, which was really a brilliant way to learn the market. And it was so good for networking and connections. But it was a really, really stressful time. And so I decided, I think, I felt a bit burnt out. So I thought I'm going to just take a bit of time out. And maybe I'll freelance, go to yoga, get my nails done, have a bit of life balance. And then that was I finished it kind of at the end of the year. And then in January, I got my trade license for to freelance, sat at my kitchen table. And then by March, I had more business than I could do on my own. I think I was busier than ever. And then one of my colleagues joined me and it kind of went from there. But yeah, it was really, really, it was never the plan. I don't really know, I can't say, it's funny because I always say that it wasn't my plan to do what I'm doing, but I think I always had an entrepreneurial side in me. If I look back to when I was, young, I was always, I had my own art business in the UK and I used to sell my paintings and that did really well. And so I've always been doing bits like that were kind of, I think it was always like something in me that wanted to have my own business because I dabbled. But then at the same time, I was always like, well, I don't want to be a poor artist. I don't want to, I wanted, and I'd always had a really, I'd kind of, really worked up the corporate kind of ladder. So yeah, but I do genuinely, I really believe that everything is designed. It does get you to where you need to be. For me, every time now, everyone laughs because I say hashtag not growing is like my line to everything because it's like you get to 10 people and then it's like no more. And then you get to 20 and then 30 and then you kind of, every kind of 10 people, you kind of, I'm like, no, I can't deal with it any bigger. But then, you do kind of, and as I'm saying, so not only was I never planned on having a company really, and then I definitely never planned on having one this size or more than one office. So it definitely is a journey I didn't plan. And I do always say it's like the hardest journey that I've ever had.
Really?
I think it's the highest highs and the lowest lows. And that's why I think it is that I think adage that, it is, if it was so easy, everyone would do it. And I think that is really, really true. I've seen so many people that I know who think it is the easy path, and then they've probably lasted a year, less than a year. And it is, it is, I think if you really care about, for me, I hear too many stories about, people not paying their staff for, months. Like in today, someone was telling me about someone that's not paid their staff in 4 months. And I think for me, even in COVID was obviously, I joked I still got PTSD from COVID because to even just have conversations with all of your team about, either what that meant, particularly in our industry, and we lost 80% of our business in the first 2 weeks of lockdown. And then, I take being responsible for people's livelihoods and careers so seriously. But I think a lot of people don't. And that's why for me, I want, I think it's really, really important that, I do, as I said, I want to provide an environment that women can flourish in, even things like, we've been doing training with the team and how to ask for pay rises and how to pitch for pay rises in the right way, which obviously then cost me more money. I would, with financial empowerment for women as well. And actually, because I think if you look at a lot of the sort of data, it's around women, don't always push themselves forward as much as men for promotions and pay rises and things. So actually, I think, I want to instill confidence so everyone is, knows their worth and will ask for it. And even sometimes I think we've now moved our appraisals to twice a year because we're a big company, and obviously trying to kind of, stagger it, or should just spend your whole life just doing pay rises and promotions. And we've got HR director now and everything's kind of, and then sometimes, I had to sit there and I was like listening to kind of like some of the requests and some of the pitches. And part of me is like, wow, like literally like thinking, how on earth am I going to afford that? But then the other half was like, well, that's really great that they're, I'm really impressed that they're kind of like properly owning, their worth and going for it. But I think all of these things, I mean, obviously we said like women's health, but I think ultimately all of it is skills. I think that sometimes us as women, lack, or we don't, we can't step into as easily as our male counterparts can, and it's all part of the journey to helping us get to equality. We need to know our worth.
Wow. Oh, I love that. It sounds like you've got such a strong why and a strong mission, and you're so aligned with everything.
Yeah. And and that's the thing where it's like, I think even me and my MD, obviously I don't have children. I've been through I've spoken about my fertility journey a lot, and how that obviously is my career. My MD, she's got 2 small children. So I think between us, both of us feel very, very strongly about a great, a great environment for women, balancing motherhood, and also for women, that, with health and things like that. So both of us are really, really passionate about it coming from a slightly different perspective. And I think it really works.
Wow. And you mentioned before we started talking about the live, about how your intuition, your gut instinct has helped you along the way as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think it was whenever anyone asked me about my, learnings, running a business, and, I always say, trust your gut instinct. And it definitely is one of the most powerful things, I think, particularly when you're starting out. And obviously for me, I never meant to have a business. For a long time, I doubted myself as a business person, and my skills, and even things like, I always say like, well, not very good commercially or with money, and all these kind of things that are completely out of your comfort zone. All of a sudden you're doing everything from HR to money. And you find yourself in situations, and sometimes when you think, oh, I'm out of my depth, you doubt yourself, and maybe you'll ask other people. But no, definitely, I think about in 3 times in the business, I've made a decision when my gut instinct, every bone in my body said, don't do it. And I did it, and it was terrible each time. So now it's like, I feel like a bit of a hippie sometimes, but I say that to anybody, even my team, or anybody, and like in other clients and people around me, I'm always like, what's your gut say? And then I'm like, that is what you should do. And I think it is really, really, it is so powerful. And I think sometimes, I look back, I mean, hindsight's always a great thing, but there's quite a few times where I had people telling me that I either wasn't doing a good job, or I didn't know what I was doing. Men, actually.
Oh, really?
But and then I didn't trust myself, and or I had a bit of a wobble and didn't know what I was doing, and then I made a decision, and it was just bad. So I think gut instinct is the most powerful thing we have.
Oh, I love that. And I think as well, when you do have that self-doubt and you lack trust in yourself, it's quite easy. It's easier to listen to other people, isn't it?
No, totally.
You can get swayed by other people's opinions. So would you say in general, because I always say every time I listen to other people, it normally goes wrong. So I'm trying, but then it's not like I don't want to listen to anybody, but I think I'm starting to make a rule for myself is, don't listen to anyone else. Like, what do you think about that? Or do you think that's too extreme?
Look, I don't think don't listen to anybody. I think, I mean, generally, I think we've probably all got a pool of people that we do kind of trust their judgments. I think it is good to kind of share a bit, but I think ultimately final decision on what, you have to go with your gut and what that says. So.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that can be hard sometimes. But I guess when you make the mistakes though, then I guess it becomes easier because you don't want to.
Yeah,
suffer.
and I made some of the things that I did. Obviously, they were that major that you always do learn the hard way. So
yeah, that's true. Hi, Chris. Chris says I'm all for women's mental health initiatives. Send me a link and I'll post it. Thank you, Chris. And for anybody else who's listening, please feel free to ask any questions or any comments, and we will do our best to answer them. But so, Tash, you mentioned you've had the highest highs and the lowest lows. Can you share a little bit about that? Highest highs.
I think, I mean, highest highs. I mean, even, you know, it's silly. I say I look at silly things, right? You know, like your first office, like at 2 years
Oh
old, we got.
wow.
And I remember, like, you know, I know, obviously, I didn't. I planned to be at my kitchen table. I definitely didn't plan on having an office, and so I remember, you know, keys and an office, and I had, you know, it was small, but I had the most beautiful office, like overlooking all the, you know, the palm, you know, frosty and glass, and it was so.
Wow.
It was tiny, but it was like my office. And I think that was, you know, and then obviously every time, I think we're on our fourth office now, and every time, you know, you do kind of move up and everything, it is that feeling of, you know, I'm definitely like seeing your door plaque on, you know, your office door, all those kind of things.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's kind of this, you know, end of our first year in business, we won all of Johnson's beauty, which, you know, as an independent startup agency, to win all of Johnson & Johnson in the first year was like, I mean, you know, they're the moments that you remember. Obviously, about, you know, 3 years ago now, we won, you know, we won our first big award as, you know, Agency of the Year, which
Wow.
I think that was, you know, sometimes, I mean, I've gone through times being like, you know, self-deprecate, you know, saying like, you know, I just do like, you know, makeup PR or lipstick PR or whatever, you know, and it's like compared to those that are doing, you know, corporate or oil and gas PR, but actually a lot of what we do is very meaningful, but sometimes I know that I've kind of dumbed down what we do. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're taken seriously as, you know, as an agency that generally is seen to be doing some more of the fluffier things. I think that meant a lot. And then a year later, I won PR Leader of the Middle East, and that was, you know, particularly for me. I think I've had to. I actually am quite shy and introverted, so I really have had to, particularly in recent years, step out of my comfort zone as well. So yeah, I think it's moments like that. I mean, there's so many, like sometimes, you know, I do feel here we're so lucky with the, you know, I always say that if I'd have had tried to do this in the UK where I'm from, you know, independent startup agencies just don't get the opportunity even to pitch, let alone win the client. So I'm super grateful for everything here, because I feel it's so entrepreneurial, it's so can do, and we get the opportunities we get are just amazing. So I think generally, really, I love the entrepreneurial and can-do spirit here. I mean, I don't really want to, if I want to start on the lowest, finish on the lowest lows, because it's miserable.
No, you don't. You don't have to. No, that's fine. That's fine. But so you would say the secret. I know there's no secrets to success, because it's hard work and it's all of those things. But what would you say are the top 3 things then that have helped you become so successful?
I think you have to love what you do. It
Okay.
is whatever, you know, if you don't love what you do, it's difficult, because I know that I love what I do and I'm pushed to my limits all the time, and I want to give up sometimes about 25 times a day, if not more.
Yeah.
If you're doing something that you don't even enjoy at the start, I think that's kind of, you know, it's just not going to work. You have to be doing something that you love and want to do, because you really are going to have to work for it. I think that's sometimes, you know, I don't know, these books, what is it, like, you know, 2-hour working week or whatever it's called, you know, and it's just, I think, you know, whenever I refuse to read it, because most people that I know that have got a really great business are super engaged, they work really hard, and they're hands-on. And I think how the difference between businesses where they have a hands-on leader and they don't, you know, even from the sort of small details. And, you know, obviously gut instinct obviously is up there with my kind of, you know, follow your gut. And, you know, but I genuinely do believe everything happens to get you to where you need to be. And
I love that.
even the bad things, you know, that's maybe you're on the wrong path, and that helps you get, you know, on the path or back where you should be going. And so, you know, even, you know, when I look at kind of my mission, you know, I've been criticized for only employing women or being very female focused. I mean, if I was in the UK, I know that I probably couldn't even have a fully female workforce, you know, because of, you know, being discriminatory. But you know, I actually, rather than sort of buckle under that criticism, think, actually, no, I'm going to go and become like everybody else. That's why we decided to own it and, you know, create, you know, everything we do is designed for women to help them flourish, grow, and live their best lives.
Wow, I absolutely love that. And there's so many more questions I would love to ask you, Tash, but we're running out of time.
No, thanks for having me.
No, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to say before we go? And how can people find you? I'm sure everybody knows you anyway, but
I mean, LinkedIn, Instagram, Tash Hatherall, or Tish Tash is Tish Tash Talks. You can find me on most of the platforms. And generally, I just believe, follow your heart, follow, what love, and the rest will come good.
Oh, I love that. Follow your heart, trust your guts, and yeah, that's brilliant advice. Thank you so much, Tash. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you, everybody, for watching. If you have any messages or comments, please leave them in the thread, or you can message Tash or myself directly. And I will see you next week. And thank you so much, Tash.
Thank you, Jasmine.